let's learn to aim.
I saw Snooker on the TV and that was the end of it.
G'day mate, hello and welcome back to the Snooker Shed. Big shout out to Dominic Chan, Hugh Grant from Australia, Ahmed from Saudi Arabia and Alexander from a little town just outside Moscow called Korolev. Listen guys, it's great to have you on board and it's great to have you all on board, especially all these new subscribers that have came along to the channel in the last 2 or 3 days. It's absolutely great to have you all here. So, a quick wee recap on where we are in 0 to a ton series. So we should have covered attitude at the very first video, but because you're watching me go on about snooker, you've got the correct attitude because you're already wanting to learn. The next one we done was staying down in the shot. Massively important and helps us learn how to play snooker. Then we looked at straight cueing, getting that cue ball to where we want on the table. And today, that's where we're going. We're going to look at that point on the table we want the cue ball to go. Let's look at the aiming. The first thing we're going to look at is where the ball goes, the pocket. This is where the ball's going to go. And it's really important that we pay attention to the pocket. The first thing I'm going to say is it has to be centre pocket. Always aim to get the object ball into the centre of the pocket. So many times you'll see, or you'll try and play a shot, which I'm going to demonstrate on the blue, where the angle just isn't quite enough to get the cue ball moving up or down the table. So what we'll do is we'll try and stretch the pocket and hit the object ball to the left or the right. Let's have a look at that shot and see why it possibly could go all wrong. Okay, so I've set this shot up where I've just not hit it hard enough to get a good position above the blue. I want to take the white back down the table. So what do we normally do? You'll see it all the time at the clubs. We'll try and open the pocket up and hit the blue in at the right hand side. And how many times has that been the result? And that's because we don't choose centre pocket. If you close the pocket by going left or right from centre, you make the shot so much more difficult. So you can clearly see why it's really, really important that we stick to put in centre pocket. The slightest deviation of aim and the slightest deviation of cueing, and you ain't getting that in. So, we're happy. Centre pocket, that's where we're aiming all the time. Now let's look at how we get the object ball to go into the centre of the pocket. And what I'm using is this ball again. I did say to you that it was something I've used lots of times in here at the Snooker Shed for my own progress, and I'm no lying, because here's it again. What we're going to do with this time is use this red dot. And we're going to set it up exactly the same as we did for the straight cueing video up there in the card. We set it up so that the line is directly pointing at the centre of the bag. We look at the horizontal line and we set it up so that it's nice and parallel with the table. Okay, so with the ball in place and it's set up correctly, this shows the point of contact for the ball to go into the centre of the pocket. There is only one point of contact. There is only one place you will hit that ball to send it in the centre of the pocket. And that's the red dot. And that's the same for every ball you're trying to pop. There is only one place that you make contact with that object ball for it to go into the pocket. It's always round the equator of the ball. So let's look at stage 2, the guess. So from the first stage, we know that from centre pocket all the way through in a dead straight line gives you the crucial contact point on the object ball to pot it. Now we're going to look at what part of the cue ball strikes that contact point, and this is where the guess comes in. So let's look at this guess in a wee bit more detail and how we're going to process this. So we now know the contact point. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at that contact point and I'm going to look at the cue ball and where it strikes, how much of the cue ball we need. And I'm looking at this shot now thinking, that's not going to pop. If I strike that, it's going to end up about there. So as I'm puzzling this out, I'm moving until I think that's about the correct potting angle. Once I've got that guess, then what I'm going to do is just go down and play the shot, focusing my eye on the contact point. But before I go down, I'm just taking a note of how much the portion of the white is going to hit the black. So let's look at this little illustration that we've got here. What you can see is two parallel lines that lead to the pocket. For the black to go into the pocket, the black must stay within those parallel lines. So when contact is made, the cue ball must be 100% also in those parallel lines to push the black in that direction. So we can call this the train track method, because we don't want to knock it off the train tracks, we want to push it along them. So here's a look at the portions of the cue ball needed to pot the black. And we'll start off with a full ball, moving round to 3/4, over to half ball, quarter ball, all the way round to no ball, or a very, very thin cut. Right. Bear in mind, it's portions of the cue ball, not the object ball. So let's look at stage 3, it's the miss. And the miss is the most important part of the aim. And as Gary Fuller said the other night, you must be prepared to miss hundreds of times to improve. And if you do, and you can accept that you're going to miss, you'll enjoy this game so much more. So I've made my guess, I've played the shot, and I've watched the results. This time, I'm going to play it again and readjust. Cue ball always goes back to that spot on the table, black back on its spot. This time, I'm going to readjust the aim and play the shot again. Not quite centre bag, let's play it again. So I've readjusted the aim and I'm going to give just slightly less cue ball to the contact point. And that's the result I was looking for. When I stayed down and watched it go, I also paid attention to where my cue is over the dot that I put in the table. And that, my cue, was in line with the dot. So that kind of tells me that it was cued reasonably straight, and it actually felt like I played it reasonably straight. So why is this miss so important? It's because we miss so many times. As club players and amateurs, we miss constantly. So let's get as much out of that miss as we possibly can. We need to know every way to miss to just learn that one way to pot. So now what I'm going to do, that I've got the guess correct, I'm going to keep guessing, and I'm going to play the shot over and over and over and over again until when I come down, I know exactly how to pot that. And that's the crux of it. It's all about just diagnosing that you make sure you hit the point where you expect it to go, you guess at that, and if it doesn't go, be aware of what's happening by staying down in the shot and changing your line of aim. Each time you change, watch for the reaction of the object ball and correct it each time till you start to hit the centre pocket on every shot.
Thanks for watching. I'm Rebecca Kenna and I'll see you on the table.